Fan-made Pokemon or Fakemon have been a huge part of the Pokemon community for years now. People constantly making new designs for Pokemon they wish were real, and some even making it into full fan games you can actually play with. Dasher the Ruler, and today I'm ranking my top 10 Fakemon that are so good, they honestly rival what Nintendo makes, and I wish they were real. And I say that as someone who really likes the official designs too, at least most of the time. This list was insanely hard to narrow down, but I think you'll love it. Let's get into it. First, number 10 is going to be the Ancient Dragon Dunsparce. This is a custom dragon flying evolution for Dunsparce introduced in Pokemon Uranium that was made quite a while before Nintendo themselves evolved Dunsparce. And although I think the Dunsparce is hilarious in its own right, Dunsparce is really epic and gives Dunsparce some much needed love, as it's honestly really fun to use in game given its cool stat spread as kinda a high health special attacker with a crazy HP stat. One might even argue that the reason the Dunsparce exists is because Nintendo was jealous of Dunsparce, as they definitely probably maybe knew of the existence given they shut down Pokemon Uranium. Though you can obviously still play the game, it's just kinda shut down. So really, Dunsparce flew so the Dunsparce could slither, making it in my eyes both quite impressive as a standalone design and cool given it may have made Nintendo jealous. Also, one last interesting note, there's a kind of mirror to Dunsparce in Pokemon Infinity called Quaesparce, which I thought was kind of cool because it's basically the inverse, where it's fairy ground, where ground is obviously the opposite of flying, and fairy is roughly the opposite of dragon, which I thought was kind of quirky and maybe a nod to Dunsparce from the Infinity devs, but Dunsparce is a lot cooler, so that's why I put it as 10, as Quaesparce, it sounds kind of weird, and I don't like how it looks that much, but it's kind of... Also, I'll link all the games that these Fakemon come from in the description if you want to try using them yourself. Anyways, number 9 is Shaileon, the Pokemon Xenoverse grass starter, and this guy's just lovely. He's a shy chameleon, hence the name Shaileon, which is represented pretty nicely by him, well, looking like a chameleon and having a little mask to hide his face, which is very relatable, especially as a gamer. His evolutions are also cool, as if you don't know, Xenoverse has a special evolution system where you can actually swap your Pokemon's form on command, giving effectively 4 different stages with different stats and abilities, with all its forms being pretty cool, especially his last form that looks really sick. Also, I should mention I am considering the whole evolutionary line in my ratings, as I do think that matters quite a bit. Anyways, throughout all of its evolutions, it's a fast special attacker with a decent amount of bulk, making it a pleasure to play, especially given how good a type fairy is, and honestly, I think it kinda just mogs all the other starters, at least in my opinion. Overall, it's a great design, but there are some more heavy hitters, so I didn't want to put it too high up, so I think 9 was a good rating. At number 8, we got Corsoreef, and I just love this guy. This is another situation where Uranium made an evolution for a beloved Pokemon Corsola, and Nintendo stole the idea years later, and I mean, they did a decent job themselves with Corsola, trying to raise awareness for coral reefs that were dying, which I think is a good thing. Corsoreef is just such a cute fellow. Bro looks like he's dancing and is a very fitting evolution for a line that never felt like it should just be one evolution stage, at least to me. He also has an interesting dual playstyle in the sense Corsoreef naturally has very high bulk. However, with the ability Sharp Coral that only it halves its defense and doubles its offense, making it a big damage dealer, so you can have 2 different playstyles depending on which ability you get. Overall, this guy is an adorable friend, and it's hard not to smile seeing him and thinking that Corsola really got an evolution they deserved. Now 7 might shock and disgust some of you, as it's very out there in terms of design, but to me, I think it's amazing. It's Grudako from Pokemon Xenoverse. This is the origami Pokemon explaining its fairly avant-garde shape, but in game, this guy is genuinely so cool to come across and use, especially given how hard they play into the aesthetic, as not only are their defenses paper thin, they'll give you a paper cut with their paper strong offensive stat and decent speed. They also get a custom move called Paper Cut, which is just the cherry on top, making them quite fun to play, and although the design may not be a typical cute animal like a lot of Pokemon are, I think it's still a great vibe and feels very nice to see and use. For number 6, I wanted to mention the Fakemon Reddit, since although I wanted the list to mostly be mons you can play within a fan game, it felt disrespectful to not include the Fakemon Reddit, as so many beautiful designs pass through there all the time. So I'm going to talk about one of the most wonderful designs I've ever seen, Calicasso, made by Sayuri D. They actually made the post asking for name recommendations, and the top comment is Calicasso, and frankly, that's genius. It's supposed to be a rival to Smeargle, which is really adorable and honestly really fitting, as Smeargle by itself, although I think a painter Pokemon is really fun, it kinda doesn't hit that hard. Like, I don't know, if Smeargle never existed, I don't know if I'd care. However, having a rival makes it completely different and way more engaging, as you kind of can take a side on it, where you have Kalakasa, which may be the more appealing general artist, and then you have Smeargle, which may be a more, hipster artist that doesn't appeal to everyone, but has some crazy vibe and might have a cult following. Overall, I'd love to see this in a game, and Tsuri D is just a really impressive artist, so I'd love to see a fan game asked to use their art/ideas, since they are all really epic. I'll link their account in the description if you want to see more from them, and show them some love. Anyways, at number 5 is a Fakemon that only true intellectuals and real geniuses can understand. Batnana! This is a genius design from the Xenoverse team. A bat that's also a banana, and it's the fruit bat Pokemon. I don't know. There's something that just hits so hard about this design. Not only that, but the design looks really nice, and the first stage is very derpy and cute looking, plus it has a final stage after the banana that is actually pretty powerful, though it loses the flying grass type, which is a bit strange as Bro's still flying, though I guess he does look like a dark type. Overall, this is a phenomenal design that is incredibly pleasing to come across and use. Now on to 4, it's Makroach. This is an Infinity design I really like. It's obviously a bit silly at first glance, but I think it's so good, especially as an enemy Pokemon. It's just a cockroach that's mocking you with its head, which is perfect for an evil team. Plus, it gets a sick custom move called Deep Cap Attack, where it throws its head at you doing big damage, but obviously it has a bit of recoil as it's hitting you with its head. Overall, this is a crazy design that's super fun to see in game and to use, and perfectly uses the bug type. Now for 3, we have the Wisteria line. This line is absolutely gorgeous and a genius use of the unique sound type that is present in Pokemon Xenoverse, as they modeled it off the Mandrake, which in folklore has a powerful scream, hence the sound type. It also has a custom ability synthesizer, which is basically like the absorb abilities buff for sound and with a way cooler name. Basically, it'll heal if it's attacked with a sound type move, which is pretty fun and cool, though it doesn't come up that much. Overall, this is a gorgeous design with a fun vibe, and it also kind of reminds me of Dusa from Hades, which is fun for me. Now for 2, we're really getting up there. This is a hype design for me, and it was hard to pick as there's so many heavy hitters on this list, but I decided that Lepidion deserved number 2. This was made especially hard as there's so many goated fan evolutions just from Pokemon Infinity, things like Champion, Scorpion, and even Eevee. They're all really cool, and it's lovely getting a full roster of Eevee evolutions, but honestly, Lepidion is so sick and I think steps a bit above all of them. A bug Eevee that looks this fly? You'd think it was a fly, but Lepidion implies it's of the Lepidoptera family, which is butterflies and moths and stuff, which makes sense. It is really beautiful, and it is just the elegant moth Pokemon. Just look at the way its wings form into kind of this scarf-like clothing that looks so lovely. And its face is so cute and fuzzy. I just love this thing. Frankly, this thing mogs all the other unique evolutions from this game, at least in my opinion. Anyways, before we get to number 1, I want to quickly mention some honorable mentions that I was considering for the list, but just barely didn't make it. First, I want to mention the fabled bug dragon Pokemon from r/Fakemon. This is such a cool design. It's inspired by Chinese dragon festivals and the dragon-headed caterpillar, which I think, I don't know, it's so fitting, and I was so close to putting this on the list, but it's such a good design. Another really good design is Godfrogger from Pokemon Infinity. This is clearly a Godfather reference, as it's a Mafia frog, which is sick, but frankly, bro looks a bit to me. It looks a lot like what I'd imagine a Mafia frog guy would look like, but I don't know, something about it just isn't very appealing. Maybe it's the color or the rotundness. I just don't like his vibe, but I did think he deserves a mention as he's kind of funny. Another banger that just barely didn't make it is the Grass Starter from Pokemon Realidea system. This line is cool AF and was what I picked when I played. I love Grass Fairy, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and it's such a cute design that evolves into a Pokemon that low-key kind of looks exactly like me, and made my experience of Pokemon Realidea a lot better by getting to use it. Alright, this is the last honorable mention before we get to number 1, and it's Scoville from Pokemon Uranium. Me and my friend were discussing this, but his first stage just looks like how a hot pepper feels, and funnily enough, this guy came before Scovillain in the actual Pokemon, making it seem like Nintendo stole even more ideas from Uranium and executed them a bit worse, as frankly, normal Scovillain just looks like 2 bell peppers. There ain't no spice to that, but this guy's got spice. But I didn't think he was as crazy as the others, so he's just an honorable mention. Anyways, now that that's done with, we got the number 1 craziest, most amazingly impressive, most gobsmacking, most reality-shattering most cool Pokemon Fakemon. That Nana! No, I'm just kidding. That guy's still in 5th. The real most immaculate, amazing fan-made Pokemon that really should be real is Flame Lyn, the fire starter from Pokemon Realidea system. Frankly, Realidea has crazy starters. All of them are lovely, but this guy's just another level. Flame Rodent Bard? Damn! Most fire starters conform to this fate of being either a macho fire fighting type or some sort of monstrous demon dragon, but this guy's just blowing his flute and is kinda sick. It's kind of similar to the Delphox line, but frankly, the flute coming out of Bro's tail, his custom move Hypnotic Note putting enemies to sleep if they hit him like it's a trap, this is just an epic design with wonderful visuals, especially when you notice the little notes that are coming out of his flute. He just has so much more flair than something like Delphox or the whole line, especially since Bro is fresh from stage 1 all the way through. This guy's lovely. There's just so much soul, so much love. He breaks the mold and doesn't do it in an awkward manner. I love this guy, and honestly, as much as I love the grass starter Midu that I personally picked, I can't lie, the fire guy makes me want to replay just to get to use him. Overall, all these Fakemon and fan games are so inspirational, and just because one didn't make the list doesn't mean it's bad, as there's just a ton I couldn't cover. So if there's any you think should have made the list, or any of your thoughts in general, leave them in the comments. I hope you have a lovely day.